welcome back to the Midlands Rugby Podcast. Phil, how you doing?
I'm very well, mate. Very good. How are you and your gammy arm?
Yeah, it's fucked, mate. Absolutely fucked. No, it's not. I mean, it's broke my hand in a storming performance, I think, on Saturday. I think that's what we'll leave it there. For you, Phil, my question of the day is that a Patriots pajama top? I called you out on it earlier, but you ignored the comment.
It's not a pajama top. It's just American style long sleeve Patriot shirt.
Yeah, it looks like a pajama top.
Having said that, I
Um,
do wear it as a pajama top. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I know. I remember that for when I woke up next year. We've got we've got a guest on today. Steph, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you guys?
I'm good, thanks, mate. Would you like to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about why I may have even asked you on the podcast this evening?
Yeah. So, Tom, you introduced me there as Steph. So, my given name's Llyr Griffiths. So, I'm currently a player at Burton Rugby Club, and I also am the team manager for Notts Police Rugby Club, as well as the team captain at the moment for British Police Rugby.
It's not a
Got
bad
a
CV, is it?
Yeah, I was gonna say, even just for current, that's not a bad CV. Someone's got enough scout badges to get through for the scouting of rugby on that one. Let's start. Let's start at the beginning then. So, how did you get into rugby?
He's Welsh. He's Welsh.
Yeah.
Wow, there we go. It's a given if you're Welsh. You kind of you're born and just get given a rugby ball. Yeah. So my parents said that I was born with these huge hands, really long fingers, and they were just designed to hold a rugby ball, I think. And from the age of 5 or 6, I was kind of thrusted into rugby, as it were. So I grew up in Anglesey in North Wales,
Yes.
which is technically not a rugby playing area. It's more of a football area, really, with rugby being dominated that down south. So, um, and I was always reasonably big for my age and kind of just used to run through people. But as I say, like, because football was such a dominant sport in the north, we didn't really get noticed very much. So as I kind of grew up, I had to move across the border to England to play any kind of representative stuff. Really, I got into the Welsh under-18s, but that was really as far as it would go for a North Walian at that time. Yeah, I had to move across the border to England to play representative stuff, and I ended up at Hartbury down in Gloucester.
Hmm. Nice. I mean, that's for those who are rugby noses, quite an esteemed rugby college, to be fair.
Yeah, so yeah, I joined up there as a 18-year-old in 2004, and I spent 4 years there. Um, had a had 4 occasions at Twickenham, played in Twickenham for finals, 2 British University finals, and EDF couple of finals where we won all 4. So, which was pretty good. And then, getting to 2021, knowing really that wasn't quite good enough and was never big enough to make it as a fully professional player. So then you had to kind of put some plans in place, as it were, to what am I going to do? What am I going to do with my life? And try and find a job and a semi-pro club, as it was back then. So that was the plan, leaving Hartbury. And that's when I signed for Stourbridge, and top end of National One, as it was then.
Right, and how long were you at Stourbridge for?
So I joined at Stourbridge when I was 21, but I was immediately loaned out to played a couple of games. Then I wasn't really getting in the first team squad there, so I was loaned out to Nuneaton
Right, okay.
for that period, and then spent the first year there on loan, and then I signed permanently then for Nuneaton and I stayed there for the next 9 years.
Oh,
That was
what level one were
we
you
got
at the time?
we got promoted to National One, and then there was a relegation and subsequently another relegation, unfortunately, and then and then we ended up kind of playing level 5. But yeah, absolutely brilliant club. I thoroughly enjoyed my time there. Great people down there. But you know, I wasn't getting any younger, so decided I still wanted to play a decent standard of rugby, and I went back to Stourbridge. So after 9 years, went back there for 3 seasons, and I captained them as well in National 2. And then COVID hit, so you know that, which was tough on everyone, wasn't it? Really. So, and then after COVID, I decided, gosh, don't want to travel very much, and decided to sign up at Burton, which is 20 minutes down the road.
Yeah, slightly closer than traveling further west. But we'll come back to it. But you don't want to do much traveling, and then you decided British Police Rugby. There wasn't going to be much traveling in that. Is that?
Well, I mean, in that little kind of in that little breakdown of my rugby journey, as it were, I forgot to mention that I joined the police, which is obviously a big part of my life. So I joined the police in 2010, so nearly 14 years I've been in the police now. And as we all know, you know, the rugby community is quite small, and I was invited to play a trial game for the British Police down in South Wales, and I managed to keep my spot. And I've got 60 caps in total now for British Police over 14 years. So I'm joint top.
I was going to say that must be
game, hopefully next week, which I'll break the record. Touch wood and crossing everything.
Yeah. Did I see that was again? You got a cup game against Scunthorpe?
Yeah. So the cup game against Scunthorpe, which is just posted on Instagram, actually, is the NLD Second 15 Cup. Yeah. So that's for not police. So yeah, first time I think we've entered that cup since its foundation. So quite an exciting time for us. But our intention is to try and play a bit of a second 15 or a development 15 in that cup competition. And hopefully get a few of our novice type players or players that are coming back into the game to get some meaningful rugby. So that's the plan with that going forward.
That's cool.
So when you were at Hartbury then, Steph, you must have come across quite a few of the lads that I played with. So there'll be the likes of Paul Jarvis and Tom Jarvis potentially, Brad, Ben Hunter, who we've had on the pod. And many more that ended up at Doncaster after they finished at uni. Is that right?
Well, you kind of seen the smiles now. I don't know if this podcast is going to be a video podcast as well, but yeah, I know all those names. Yeah. So Tom Jarvis was a year older than me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I played loads with Jarvo. Ben Hunter as well, decent hooker, obviously in his time.
Not now. Is that what you're saying?
Not now.
Terrible now.
I'm still trying to talk him into playing for us.
2 Saturdays.
He's had that message from us at Burton as well.
He's
replied to me. I don't know if you managed to get anything out of him.
Oh no, he does just say no or say he's not allowed or whatever.
Any excuse.
No, but a brilliant time at Hartbury and some great lads and great players that have come out of that setup as well.
Yeah, it's done really well. I remember it kind of kicking off. Probably it kind of kicked off too long before you got there, to be fair. When it got into full flow.
Yeah, so I played for Hartbury and lost the 3. So like the deepest doldrums of Forest of Dean rugby. when we were at the lowest level possible in the RFU leagues. And obviously now they're playing in the second tier, aren't they?
Yeah.
But yeah, some absolutely top quality players have come out of that. And I can remember, Dan Norton playing in that league, Gloucester 3 against Bream away, and wet, horrible, windy, terrible referees, just getting beaten up.
Yeah, I remember the lads saying, so you've got you say you'd end up in somewhere in the Castle of Dean, because I think like Jarvis and Hunter would have all played when you were in sort of Gloucester 1.
Yeah.
Or Southwest 2 or whatever it would have been. And they remember telling me stories about going places and literally just getting just beat up.
Yeah.
Like winning by 50 points, but everyone going off with black eyes and a lot less skin than they started with.
Obviously, being freshers, you were encouraged to play that, but also nobody else wanted to play it. So you kind of just thrust into that team, right? Westbury on 7 away on Saturday, go, and you just get beaten up. But brilliant times and just character building.
Yeah, it seemed to me from the stories I've heard that there's very little university that actually went on.
No, well, that's not true. Some of us did try. We came away with a piece of paper at least.
Yeah. Not all of them, to be fair.
I know, they might have got a letter saying your attendance is low, please turn up.
Oh, mate, there was no attendance records at Harbury.
Solely rugby. That's all they want. Have you got any standout memories on or off the pitch from down there at all? Apart from getting beaten up by some...
What, at Hartbury?
Yeah.
Yeah. So obviously winning the British Universities Championship 2 years running, that was clearly a huge thing for us. And that was 2007 was the first time that Hartbury had won that. And we beat University of West of England, UWIC, so University of Wales Institute Cardiff, as it was back then, in the final. Brilliant. Again, a brilliant team themselves, absolutely massive team, but we had some brilliant players. We had in that team, had Dan Norton and Andries Pretorius. Don't know if you know Andries, fantastic player, played for Worcester and a couple of caps for Wales. Dan Toohey had quite a few caps for Ireland. So, that was an absolutely brilliant team. So playing with that kind of quality of player was just fantastic. And I managed to score a couple of tries as well in in the EDF finals. So that was a highlight.
Yeah, I mean, if that was me, I'd be still telling people every time I met them in a pub that I scored scored a few tries in the final. Phil, did you play against Hartbury at all coming through in friendlies?
Not at uni. I played against Hartbury for Ionians. We beat them actually. First time, came up to us. First game of the year. I got a red card. Let's not go into that.
No, let's go into it.
Well, it was one of those stupid ones where there was a few punches thrown, so I got a yellow card in the first half, and then I'd gone for a charge down, and the 10s just made a massive meal out of it, and I got a second yellow card.
Oh, so the ball had gone quite a long time prior to you getting there, and then you...
Oh, yeah, but I hadn't actually touched the 10.
Oh, right, okay.
Which is why I only got a 1 week ban in the end. But yeah, and then we went down there, and that was the year they had the lad who ended up going to Harlequins, the Lithuanian winger or something. I can't remember what nationality he was, but he was fucking class.
I love it. As soon as you don't understand, as soon as you can't remember where someone's from and they're from that vague side of Europe, they're just always with you. They're always Lithuanian.
Yeah, I think he was Lithuanian, but he scored 6 against us that day. and then went off to play for Harlequins and tore it up for Harlequins for quite a while as well.
Oh, fair play to
But
him.
yeah, there was good stuff. The setup's amazing. Like the setup down there's just better than any sort of national, or it's better than any championship side probably, and better than any national one side by a long way. So they've done it properly, and now they're reaping the rewards, being in the championship and quite comfortable in the championship as well, by the looks of it.
Yeah, definitely. So let's move on to because I'm very interested by where you've been and what you've done with on the British Police rugby team. So yeah, where have you been and what have you done with the British Police?
To be honest, I've done really well out of it. Somebody must have been smiling at me because like I said, I joined the police 2010. 2011, I was on the tour to South Africa where we played in Durban and Johannesburg.
Oh, cool.
2013, we toured Hong Kong, played against the Australian police in Hong Kong, and then we were guests for the British Lions against the Barbarians because they were stopping over there just before their Australian tour. 2015 was USA. We did Boston and New York then. 2017 back to South Africa, did the same Durban, Johannesburg, but in reverse. 2019 was Uruguay and Argentina, which was probably the best one out of the lot of them.
How come?
Just places where you wouldn't really go. You wouldn't think about going to Uruguay, and just to experience that was just brilliant.
It's not especially it's not somewhere you go on a rugby tour, is it? Really? It's
no,
not one that jumps out to anyone.
It's not, but Uruguay are a great rugby nation, aren't they? You know, they're quite high up the IRB rankings. They've got very decent clubs there, and decent facilities as well, in fairness. So that was brilliant. But on that tour, we had the opportunity to go to the British Embassy in Montevideo, which is the capital of Uruguay. And we met the British ambassador to Uruguay and all that kind of stuff. All, shirt and tie and guests and what have you. And we were introduced to these two guys, and they were the two chaps that survived the plane crash. So I don't know if you've seen the film.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
The two guys two of the three guys that survived that plane crash where the rugby team was flying. I think they were flying to Peru or to Chile from
Chile,
Montevideo.
Chile.
And it crashed in the Andes.
Right. Okay.
And there wasn't that many survivors. And in order to survive that, they had to turn to cannibalism whilst one of them went for help, effectively.
Yeah, that's right.
Met Roberto Canessa and Roy Harley. And I would say that was probably one of the most emotional and touching experiences of my rugby career, really. Just listening to that story that they and what they had to go through just to survive was just incredible.
That is mad. That is always a mad story. And did anyone, because it wouldn't have been you, because you are one of the most sensible people I've met, even though we have only met twice. Did anyone go, what did it taste like? Come on, everyone wants to know. If you're going to eat something, if someone's eating something and they've done a good reason as opposed to some weird perverted thing, well, it's good to ask, isn't it?
Well, luckily, it wasn't really the environment to ask that kind of question.
No.
But when I did post the picture on Facebook, some idiot did actually ask that question, and I had to quickly delete it because I had added Roy as a friend on Facebook and we kind of do, have a bit of back and forth.
Imagine if he had just come back with, Yeah, biceps best. Bicep is always.
Yeah. I love the testicle.
Oh, that's a great thing to clip out of context. That that's probably the best tour story. Well, not as in the most meaningful tour story we've ever had on this podcast. We
It was
normally,
definitely the most meaningful, but the
Yeah.
bar was pretty low. To be fair.
normally people naked jumping off boats and what have you.
Yeah. There is just before COVID was the first lockdown came. We were supposed to be traveling to Russia, so we were invited to this competition in Russia, and we were supposed to play against the French and I don't know if it was the Russian army or the Russian police or something in a
Jesus.
three-way.
The KGB.
A three-way competition, and we had to go to the Russian consulate in Manchester to get a passport stamped and all sorts. So everything was, sorted, all the stash and everything was sorted. And then unfortunately that opportunity stopped because of COVID, the first lockdown. And then when lockdown lifted, we all met up again, and they were dishing the stash out that was supposed to be, for the Russia tour.
Yeah.
And someone in their wisdom had plastered the Russian flag all over the sleeves. So these really nice blue tops have all got Russian sleeves, the Russian flags on both sleeves. So now we can't.
It's not really play on to wear that now, is it?
We can't really wear it.
It looks like a really strong political stance if you start wearing that.
The British police stand with Russia.
Yeah,
Imagine
the British
that.
police are pro-Russia. You heard it here first.
British police captain speaks out against Ukraine.
So some of them have been palmed off to people.
Russia.
Yeah, to Russia. This is your new uniform. Just give him to Jake Baldry. He won't. He won't think on. He loves.
You wouldn't know what flag it is. Don't worry.
No. Bless him. So did you say you got a British police team coming up this week?
So on Monday we're flying to the Czech Republic, or Czechia, as it's
Czechia now, yeah.
Czechia, yeah, as it's. I'm reliably informed that it is Czechia now.
Yeah, don't call it the Czech Republic when you're there. That might not go down too well.
So we played against the Czech national team on Wednesday the 14th.
Oh, right.
Which will be a good little trip. So we were there 2 years ago and narrowly lost by a couple of points. So
that sounds like a good idea. That's the sort of thing sort of England counties were doing before that went down the wazoo. Going to different parts of the world and playing against their teams. So the year before I went, they did Siberia, which doesn't actually sound that much fun. And then they did Canada, but they were doing stuff like Portugal and Brazil and stuff like that, just trying to play some good quality rugby against their national teams and stuff, which I thought was a really good idea. But then obviously the RFU decided to put a few more £1 million into the England first team and forget, the rest.
Yeah, I mean there's some good teams definitely in Eastern Europe. The Czechs are, I think, 32 in the IRB rankings. And you would kind of pitch them at probably about level 4, level 5-ish. I would say at 30. So you can get a really good competitive game against the Czechs. We played the Hungarian national team as well. Played them, last year. They were, I think, about 50 in the IRB rankings, and we played against an Austria select as well. But some good rugby in Eastern Europe.
Yeah, I think as a sport, it's growing quite quickly. Into nations that previously were not that fussed about it, or not seem to be fussed about it. But I know Poland have gone from strength to strength in it, and Ukraine are doing similar, and it does seem to be quite popular in the Eastern Bloc. But that it kind of suits the kind of person that you get out of there. You're all about sort of wrestling culture and stuff like that. It's quite easy to switch across. Tom, you're expecting me just to say something non-PC though,
I
aren't
was so ready for you to fuck off again.
you?
It was just the way you go, people like them, and I was like, oh, here we go. Let's go. Let's
Yeah,
get this
no,
rolling again.
I was going to use slightly more harsh language, but I thought there was no need.
I know, please, because I can't bother to edit it. I can actually, what I was doing in the background was looking at their rugby union website, and there's a whole article, and you're not going over. They're very excited. You're
Is
the
there?
opener of 3 games, so it's yourself, and then a few weeks later they've got Switzerland, and a few weeks later after that they're playing Ukraine. So definitely don't take the Russian flag shirts over with you, just in case the scouts are out. Just
So they must be playing in their European Championship.
effective of, yeah.
Yeah, they're in level 3, 2, 3.
Yeah, 2 or 3, because there's obviously the Portuguese.
They're not with Georgia and Romania and Spain, are they?
No, that aren't they? Yeah. And tickets, if you are in
Right.
Czech Republic, tickets can be purchased on site, not available online at the minute,
Oh.
which is a shame because you can. I might buy a ticket for the Switzerland game. To be fair, they're on sale. They've announced their squad, and I was looking to see if there's anyone there, which screams, but no, there's no, not at all, not at all. There's a few people playing in Britain. So realistically, because I know we've mentioned that you manage Nottinghamshire Police. Realistically, how is the season going to end for Nottinghamshire Police? It looks like you had quite a healthy win.
Yeah, so we only reformed last year. So in March of 2013, we reformed again, and we just weren't sure where it was going to go. And the idea was, we'll play a couple of friendly games, and we'll see. But the quality of player that we actually have is very, very high. But the issue that we tend to get, as all police teams do, is trying to get everybody together at the same time. And that is causing headaches and challenges. But saying that, we've gone on a really good run this season since August. And like I say, we're playing against Scunthorpe in the NLD Cup. We've got a Police Cup match on the 6th of March against Yorkshire Police. And the winners of that will go through to the semi-final of the Police Cup. So, I'm hoping that in one of the cups, at least, that we might get through to a semi-final or a final. And then we'll just see how it takes, how it goes. Potentially a summer tour, maybe. We'll see what we can put together.
Is that maybe because the missus isn't too far away? No, you've not cleared it quite yet. That's good though. Because when I came down, where were we? Kesteven. There was definitely some very good rugby players in that team. There was knowledge, and there was a natural kind of team gelling, which was good. It was definitely good to see.
What's the difference between the British police setup and the English police setup?
So the British police will draw from England, Wales, Scotland, and Northern Ireland.
Right.
So technically, we will select players from that competition. So that the 4 nations will play their own competition. We will select players for the British police from those 4 nations. Sometimes it doesn't work like that. Some players decide that they're not going to play for the nations. They just play for their force, or they just play club rugby, etc. Because before you know it, there's a lot of rugby being played, and there's people that need to manage themselves, etc. But yeah, technically, the British police will sit above the 4 nations, and we will select from that.
I just spotted a few friendly faces that I know in the English police setup. So that's spotted them. But yeah, oh, that's cool. Well, that's it's a bit like the British Lions in police form.
Yeah, except that obviously we play a domestic season and then we do an overseas tour every 2 years.
Yeah. It seems great fun. I know that Jake, who we have mentioned, is loving being involved with the British Police. So well done for taking him under your wing and giving him the care in the community day out that he very much needed. The other week.
You know what? Tell you what, he had a storming debut. To be fair, he's come in. You know, he's a young lad, and you know he'll tell you himself that you know he's still got learning to do as a prop, but he's come in. He's not been overawed by the occasion.
No,
he started. He started the game against a really solid British Army team. The scrum has dominated, and he scored a try, as he always does when he plays police rugby.
So he doesn't score for us.
Fuck all for us.
So, as far as a debut goes, you can't really beat that, can you?
No, but there's a great clip where he is just a revolving door, and he gets stepped, and it's like watching an Eddie Stobart try and catch up. It's mint. I've watched it at least.
Well, so did 3 or 4 of us, in fairness, when that.
Yeah, it's just it's so obvious with the pink scrum up though, isn't it? It just makes it really obvious.
You can see on that clip. I know exactly which clip you're on about as well, because we've kicked into the midfield, and that 6 is that plays for Cambridge, obviously in the champ. He's got the ball, and he's just made a beeline towards me, and I'm like, oh no, I'm gonna have to try and tackle him. Luckily, like 2 yards away from me, he's managed to sidestep me. And somebody else had to make that, or try and make that tackle. He got through them, and then he's offloaded to this monstrous Fijian who's just cut this line through Jake and me and everybody else.
Amazing. We are going to have to call time. Thank you very much for coming on. It'd be good to maybe have another chat once you've done your tour, and maybe a summer tour as well, to get some stories out of you from that, because I bet, although you may not be able to say much, I bet they're a little bit messy. But thanks for going.
No comment on that.
Yeah, of course. Phil, as we always do, have you got any wise words before we go?
No, quite simply no.
Thanks. All right then. Thanks, boys. Bye.
Bye.